This is a message from the future. Pay attention. This applies to you. This is mankind's destiny. People on Earth now have all died. There was only a few of the strong that survived, those of them that had two faces, that hid in the long dark spaces, which all came from different places, from each of the world's forgotten nations, with no hope of ever relating. People never stopped the hating. These people were not strong enough to handle a thing that was so tough, to live in a world with no sun nor shade, to go on without eating for days upon days, to survive all the panic and murderous ways. It was human nature to destroy what they'd made. How many people had you met that without them you would regret the life that they have left behind? A worthless life of pain and crime. People who didn't deserve to live, shouldn't have had the choice to give, who didn't believe in what they can't touch, and shattered the world without trying too much. How many people had you met that you could have bet would been there to save the day, when your world had all gone away? Maybe just one, or two, maybe three. Far if you could out. Be lucky, you see, because in this whole world, there was only a handful of the people who stood to do battle. They were there, no matter the odds. They stood strong and tall with a cause, and caught the pieces that once was didn't matter, and tried to rebuild the world that was shattered. They saved the place they once called home. The worst was behind them, and started to roam. The human race was almost gone at last, and in telling you, it came to pass, a day when all these people who stood up for what they believed was true, fought for what once was theirs, and saved them from their final hours. They lead them through the darkest night, to see the day, to see the light. People did whatever they could, without stopping to think if they should. If it traced out their own station, they would go to war and kill a whole nation. This is what those people believed in, a world that survived in total sin. One day they all finally learned that their world was bought before it was earned, and they were pressured by the others into killing each of their own brothers, and the weak ones didn't take long to die, and only the strong could ever survive. But until that day they sat in wait, when it was already far too late, and this world they once built was destructed, taught each a lesson about how they had fucked it. They sat and slit their own throats open, until the last word that was spoken, not words of wisdom that were chosen, but just sounds of muffled torture. The blood drained on them and it poured. Then it was also perfectly clear that in the end there was nothing to fear. It was the one true calling, that all these people must die falling. Chose your friends, and chose them well. For a world of people are all damned to hell, when they saw the final humiliation of this existence in which they were raised in. They looked back, and saw how foolish they were, and felt even lower being the men that they are, and when it was all over, the earth just shrugged its shoulders, for a great weight had been lifted. Death of man was their greatest thing gifted. Balance would be brought back to this earth. A cleansing, a healing, a complete rebirth. Maybe if some of them had survived, they would teach the children how not to die, and learn from mistakes that they had once made, that led them to their early graves. And one day things would be just fine. When people were forgotten, the sun did shine, and shone brighter, and grew grass greener than ever. The end of the ploge of people was better late than never. This inevitability was due to the inability to see our own destiny. We have this one warning, to see our fate unfolding. We can see it coming. Why do we keep running from a chaotic fate for which we wait? The only way to end the hate, it was the only way. It was the price we paid. Why is it all these people had to die, so that only the strong would survive? The people who died with great pain did not do so all in vain. The ones who remain, if any, in heaven. A time will come where peace will settle. The greatest lesson we could learn was taught to us by those who burned, was that nothing is given unless discerned. Maybe it was global warming. If it was, it came without warning. Maybe then they started the bombing, to finally begin the world's great calming. But the hate grew and grew so much, that I think that's what killed all of us. Whatever the reason, whatever season, it may be this year, it may be in 20, but it will happen, and we won't be ready. I've seen it happen in a dream. As horrible as it may seem, you may think it's just crazy, your sight is just a little hazy, you can break all the branches, you can tear off the leaves, but I can still see the forest, through all the trees. This is our chaotic fate, but if we try it is not too late. No more terror, no more cancer, no more governments is the answer, no more countries, and wouldn't it seem funny if we all didn't have to fight over money? We wouldn't have to go to war, because we'd forget what we're fighting for. A world built from high above, a world built with peace and love, a world to keep a world our own, a world that we could call our home. It had to be our final goodbye, before we realized that we would all die. Finally, though, at the very least, this world we destroyed will be at peace. Too bad we had to learn this way. Why can't we all start today?